Okay. Good morning, everyone. Today is Monday, the 7th day of Tishrei, September 13th. We're continuing in Parshat Hazinu. Moshe is talking to the Jewish people, and in yesterday's Chumash, he was rebuking them, and it's kind of continuing on in that vein. Verse number 7. Zachar yemois olam binu shneis dar v'dar sha'al avicha v'yagedcha zikinecha v'yemru lach. Remember the days of old. Reflect upon the years of other generations. Ask your father and he will tell you. Your elders and they will inform you. I noticed actually at yesterday's Chumash and today's Chumash there are so many songs, modern songs from Avram Fried and Mordechai ben David, with the words and the prophecies of Moshe in this week's parsha. It's amazing. So remember the days of old. Rashi says what God did to past generations that provoked his anger. If you remember that, that'll keep you in the straight and narrow. Binu Snais Dar Vadar, reflect upon the years of other generations. The generation, Rashi says, the generation of Enosh, with the waters, the flood. And, another explanation is if you have not set your attention to the past, then reflect upon the years of generations to recognize the future. So one Pirush, one explanation is the past of the floods and everything that happened to those that did not follow in Hashem's way. And another explanation is actually reflect upon the years of generations, means the future. Think about what's going to happen with Mashiach and the world to come. Sha'al avicha, ask your father. Actually, Rashi says these are the prophets who are called fathers. Like we see Elisha's crying out to Eliyahu. He said, Avi, Avi, Rechav Yisrael, my father, the chariot of Israel. So we see over there how prophets are called father. Zikei Necha, your elders, these are the sages. V'yomru lach, and they will inform you of the events of what took place previously. In times when the Jewish people, both in times when the Jewish people did not follow in Hashem's way and when they did, you have to ask the elders and the prophets to get context. Verse number 8. B'hanchal elyon goyim b'hafridei b'nei adam yatziv gvulos amim lemispar b'nei Yisrael. When the Most High gave nations their lot. Rashi is going to explain that. When he separated the sons of man, he set up the boundaries of peoples according to the number of the children of Israel. What does it mean when the Most High, when Hashem gave nations their lot? When Hashem gave those who provoked him to anger, when they provoked him to anger, when he gave them their portion, he flooded them and drowned them. That was their lot. When he separated the sons of man, when's that talking about? When God scattered the generation of the dispersion, remember by the Tower of Babel or Tower of Bavel, and God completely spread the people, scattered the people around the world. The Mispar B'nei Yisrael, according to the number of the children of Israel, God, Rashi says, B'shvil Mispar B'nei Yisrael sha'asidim latzis mibnei Shem. Because of the Jewish people that were going to come out of shame, out of shame. Shame is the one of the children of Noah, and the sake of the number of the 70 souls of the children of Israel who went down to Egypt. Because of this, God separated the people, the nations, into 70 nations with 70 languages. Verse number 9, because the Lord's portion of his people, Jacob, the lot of his inheritance. Why? Rashi says, why? This might sound a little elitist, but Why did God go to all this effort to save mankind? Because the Lord's portion was hidden within them. Because there was destined to be a Jewish people, his people, within mankind. Yimtsaehu be'eretz midbar u'v'sayu yilel yishimain yisayvevenu yevayinehu yitzrenehu ki yishain einai. He found them in a desert land and in a desolate, howling wasteland. He encompassed them and bestowed understanding upon them. He protected them as the pupil of his eye. He found, what Rashi says, what does it mean he found them in the desert? God found Yaakov's sons faithful to him in the desert. That's where we accepted the Torah, in the desert. What does it mean? And in a desolate, howling wasteland? Rashi says, Eretz Tzia, an arid, desolate land, a place of howling jackals and ostriches. Very interesting. Yet even there, the Yidden followed their faith. They did not say to Moshe, how can we go out into the desert, a place of drought and desolation? Like the verse says, L'chtech achari bamidbar, when you went after me in the desert. The Jewish people followed Hashem into the desert, which is a desolate drought place. What does it mean? Yisay v'venu, he encompassed them. There in the desert, God encompasses them. He surrounded them by the Ananei HaKavod, by the protective clouds, and totally encompassed them. Yivayinehu, he bestowed understanding on them. Sham b'Torah ubina. There, God gave them the Torah, which is understanding. What does it mean? He protected them from snakes, serpents, scorpions, and from hostile nations. Next, Rashi says, "Ki ishain eina." He protected them. The pasuk says he protected them like the pupil of his eye. This refers to the black part of the eye, from which light is reflected outward. Okay. Next pasuk. Kinesher Yair Kinoi. As an eagle awakens its nest. Al Geizlav Yerachif Yifresh Uknafav Yikacheu Yisa'eu Al Evirasai. Like an eagle awakens its nest, hovering over its fledglings. In spring, it spreads its wings, taking them and carrying them. Taking them and carrying them on its pinions? I'm not sure. Anyhow, on its averasai, which means on its wings. Or on its aver, on its body. Kinesher yar kanai, as an eagle awakens its nest, Rashi explains that Hashem guided the Jewish people with mercy and compassion. Like an eagle is merciful towards its fledglings. He does not come by the nest suddenly and wake them up. He actually beats and flaps his wings right above the nest. And Rashi brings up over here an interesting thing that we always talk about, the eagle. So eagle is different than other birds. When an eagle flies, it doesn't carry its young in its feet, because as the eagle is the highest flying bird, its predators are from below. And if it would carry its young in its feet or in its claws, then its young would be able to be snatched or hit by an arrow or whatever. Its young would be more vulnerable. And therefore, it carries its young on its wings on top of it. So if anything were to happen, which is definitely going to come from below, it would first hit the eagle and not its young. And that's what we're saying. So too, the Eibishter carries us on his wings, protecting us. Pasuk number 12. Hashem badad yanchenu ve'ein imei el nechar. so too the Hashem guided them alone, and there was no alien deity with him. God guided them to safety and alone in the desert. Not one of the deities of the nations had the power to display its might and to wage war with them. Okay, that is, we're going to end right there. The Chumash and Rashi for today, very interesting. Let us go to today's Tanya. Okay. So we were talking, we're continuing today in Igeres HaKodesh, the number 20, and we were talking about the creating of the world, how the Hishtalshlus, how the contractions, how in general, the way that God created the world. So the conduit for creating the world, like we talked about, was the Eser Spheres, the 10 attributes. And specifically Malchus, that attribute is critical in creating the next level in the Hishtalshlus, in the contractions. So we talked about yesterday about how angels, the matter of angels, how that was created. And I believe today we're going to talk about the neshama, the souls of angels, because angels also have not souls and bodies, but they have souls and matter. And depending on how something is created, like we talked about yesterday, depending on, I'm just previewing a little bit so that we can, when we get into the Tanya, we can try to understand what the Alter Rebbe is saying. So depending, like we talked about yesterday, depending on how something is created, that also affects how yesh it is, how separate it feels from Hashem. Obviously, nothing is separate from Hashem. Everything is created by and is encompassed by Hashem. But depending on how it was created, it is either more connected to Hashem, and in that sense, less feeling itself as a yesh, less feeling itself as a distinct bria, as a distinct creation, separate creation. As an example, humans are on, if you want to say, such a way of creation, such a way of separation, that we completely feel ourselves to be our own entities, nothing to do with God. We naturally feel that way, that we are a yesh, we are something to be reckoned with, we are our own thing, right? So depending, the closer you are in the creation to God, the more you are completely nullified, you're completely batal, you're completely encompassed, and don't feel yourself as a separate being. So let's go. So obviously the nishmas hamalachim, the souls of angels, they are definitely on a higher level than even what we were talking about yesterday, which was the matter of angels. Nishmas, excuse me. Nishmas hamalachim shiyatzu mizivug haneshikin. By contrast, the souls of angels that come from zivug neshikim, the union of, like, the kiss from God, v'chein nishmas ha'adam shiyatzu mizivug deza v'nukva da'atzilos, and the same two souls of man that emerge by the union of za and nukva of atzilus, kodim sheyardu lebriya yitzira anasiya, before that soul goes down into briya yitzira anasiya, right, the lower worlds. Einam b'chlal yesh. You see yesh is in quotation. They're not counted, they're not at that point like yesh, v'davar nifra b'fnei atzmai, and a distinct and independent entity. Elohim me'ayin b'chinas elikus b'tzimtzum atzum. Rather, they resemble the category of godliness with a tzimtzum, with a contraction. What is yesh? Yesh means, what is yesh? Yesh means yesh mi'ayin, something from nothing. Yesh means something. A yesh is like when you have an ego, as an example, right? That's why a human has an ego. It is something. It feels itself as something that needs to be honored, it is something separate from God. That is a yesh. And everything in this created world is a yesh, and feels itself, even if you want to say a table, it's something. And you can't see the godliness within the table. You can't see that this was created from the words of God. And Hashem constantly not just created, but has to constantly create that table so it stays in existence. You can't see that because it had so much symptom, it had so much contractions from God's essence, that now it looks to be a yesh, it looks to be its own thing. But the closer we are to God, and the less of a tzimtzum, the less of a contraction there was, the more the being that we're talking about feels part of God and is completely nullified to God. So let's go back. What were we saying? Okay, they're like the kalim of the 10 sfirot of Atzilus, shehem b'chinas gvul, which are by nature finite. Al yidei tzimtzum are in safe, on account of the tzimtzum, of the contraction of the infinite are in safe. Hu hakav. This is a kav, like a line. Hamalubish b'nefesh ruach and neshama shalahem, which goes into the nefesh ruach and neshama of them. Okay, and then the Alter Rebbe says one line over here that's gonna just like the original tzimtzum that occurred in the infinite Ein Sof that brought about a void. I'm not 100% sure exactly how about the tzimtzum harisha and liyais chalal. The original tzimtzum, the original contraction that created that void for the creation of the world. This box might help if you want. I'm going to leave it up a little bit as I'm reading the next thing. This box can help for the original tzimtzum. Ve'af gam la'achar sheyorda nefesh ruach haneshama da'atzilos la'ilam hazeh, even after the nefesh ruach haneshama of Atzilus went down and descended into this world, litzadikim arishonim, to the first tzadikim, it's possible that in that contraction these tzaddikim did not become separate entities from divinity. They remained on the same level as they had been while they were still in Atzilus. That is why if these lofty souls and people, if they were to sin, if they were going to sin, they would withdraw from their bodies. The soul would rather leave the body than sin. The car of Leimer Shagam, and it is reasonable to assume Shagam ha'alafim v'rivvais almin, the Yasvin, the Golgalta, the Arach Ampin, Uzer Ampin, Einem Olmin Mamish, Ke'en ha'halachis ta'tzilus u'chinas yesh. It's reasonable to assume that the thousands of worlds that are in the Eirach Ampin and Zer Ampin as stated in Kabbalah, are not really worlds, like the Heichalat of Atzilus in the form of Yesh. In other words, these worlds are not actual Yesh. These worlds are like the Nishmas HaMalachim. They're like the souls of the Malachim that we said come from a kiss of God. V'nikrum oilamin, and they're called worlds in quotation. Legabe bechinas hagulgaltem. Ach einam elikus mamish levriya yesh me'ayin. These many levels, myriads of levels, they are only called worlds relative to what's higher than them. But in actuality, they are not separated in a way that they feel themselves a yesh. They're not separated in a way that these worlds, similar to our world, they are not that way that they feel themselves as their own entity. Because they already emerged and came separate from the kelim of the 10 spheres of Atzilus, within which the Kav, the infinite Ein Sof light, is vested. Sha'ar hu ka'ein hama'ar. The light is similar to the ma'ar, the source of the light. Hu mehusay va'atzmusay shal hamatzla kadosh baruch hu, the very core and essence of Hashem. Shemitziusay hu me'atzmusay, whose being is of his essence. And he is not, heaven forbid, brought into being by some other preceding Hashem. Therefore, it's only God who has this power and ability alone to create something, yesh, out of ayin, out of nothing and nothingness. Without the yesh having any cause or reason preceding it. Oh wow. In order that this yesh, created by the infinite power of the Ein Sof, should have a limit and measure, should be in order for the infinite Ein Sof to go into something that's finite and create something that's finite, and become completely one, that Hashem and his creations are one. So that he can create with and through them. Remember, God is using this contractions of the 10 spheres to create creatures that have limitations and that have are finite. This is especially the case through their investment, the investment of the kelim of Atzilus in Bria, Yitzira, and Asiya. So trying to, pull everything all together, the Eibishter uses these stepping stones, if you want to say, of the Yud Spheres, which, although there are thousands of worlds and thousands of levels till you get to created beings, the other things are created also, like we said. There might be their souls, or their matter of angels, or the soul, or the tzaddikim of old. Those things, right? They are created, but they're created in a way that they're still very much connected and feel their creator, as opposed to created things here on this world, which are created and are so contracted in a way that they do not feel naturally our creator. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. It was a pleasure learning with you today, and make today a great one.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.